Hello and welcome to a new episode of Gemischter H4ck, episode 103. In today's episode, we are going to have a look at the machine The Planets Earth, which is the second machine from the series The Planets, and it's rated medium. It was a very interesting machine, I think, and it has some nice learnings. And yeah, let me show you how I resolved it. So at first, and this is what I already did to save some time here, I first scanned my network to get the IP address for that machine, which is 10.0.2.23, and then I did a service scan and a port scan on the machine. And as we can see, there are three ports open. This is port 22, SSH, port 80, and port 443. So what really is pretty interesting here, we will see that later. We just try to access that IP address here, simply putting it to browser. And as we can see, we get a bad request. So why is this? Yeah, this is because we have obviously, since this has alternative subject names for the HTTPS, we have different alternative names, and this is a clear sign for that we have virtual host running here. So what I did was have a look at my etc hosts file here. And as you can see, I've added earth.local and teratest.earth.local in that file here. So when we now call earth.local, oh, damn it. Yeah, we are inside a website. What I can tell you right now is that I didn't set up the machine again. So this is my resolved machine, and I did some testing on this. So what you see down here does not belong to the original machine. What you will find in the original machine is these three messages. And when you try and have a look what this will do, so you enter a message here, give it a key, and it will output the message here. And if you do that with a bunch of samples, you will end up, or you will notice that this is simple XOR encryption. So the message you enter is XORed with the key you given, and this is the hexadecimal representation of the message or of the encrypted message here. So I thought, yeah, this, since I know this is an XOR message, I tried to search the web for a solution to get the key which was used and decrypt that messages. So what I did here was I downloaded a tool. That's a great tool out there. Let me see if I can find this. Is this called XOR Tool? Maybe I can find it. Yeah, this is this one here. This is kind of a brute forcer for XOR encrypted messages. This is pretty nice. And what I did is I took the three messages we have here, and pasted them into a file. Like for example, this one here. I already saved this here. So if you have a look at message one.bin, this is the first message encoded with the XOR tool and encoded in hex. So what I tried here to do is to run that XOR tool and to get the key to decrypt the messages. So I tried the following. I have installed the XOR tool, which is located in this directory here, in my home directory, the local bin XOR tool, and the parameters are B for brute force any possible key here, and X, which is telling the tool that we have a hex input here in that file. So no, this is wrong. So it's not. I start with message 2 because I want to show you that it works, but it's not the way you should look at. So I take the message 2 and run that tool, and it will tell me that most probably the key has a length of 5 characters. And if you have a look at the most possible key candidates here, we can see that Ducky seems to be pretty good. And we can have a look at the results of that. They are stored in XOR tool out. And for each try or each key, there is there's a file which is 511 files in that case. So what I do here now is using cat, which will put the outputs of all these files together. So let's use cat and .out. I could have a look at all the files individually, but I think this is a better idea here. So this is the output of all the files which were generated, the clear text files. And when we run through it, you can see that there's a lot of crap in there. But when you scroll up a little, one of the tries, I can tell you it's the Ducky key, but I want to show you. But as you can see already above here, there's something which is giving a little sense. You can read solar system, some things like that, but it's not finally decoded. So I'm looking for the really decoded message here. I think it must be, it must be here, and here it is. So Saturn is the only planet in our solar system that is less dense than water. It could float in a bathtub if anybody could build a bathtub big enough. So this is the message, but it obviously won't get us any further. So what I did, I tried, or I ran dirbuster on that, and it gave me the directory called admin, and this is the only thing you will get from here, which tells you, we have an admin command tool, please log in, you're not logged in. What I did was I tried several injection and online attacks here that didn't work out. So um, I moved on, and as we have seen before in our scan, okay, it's gone now. Let's clear this up. Um, but we have another uh, host, another virtual host running on that machine, which is called um, Teratest, teratest.earth.local. So it says, yeah, this is a test site, please ignore. I ran the default test. I used dirbuster again, and I found a file which is pretty often there, which is called robots.txt. And as you can see, there are some disallowed folders here, including a file which is called testing nodes.star or wildcard. So what I did here is I took testing nodes and simply added a txt. I tried several extensions. I tried first PHP or something like that, but then I found out it was txt. And here we have some pretty interesting information on the machine. So I wouldn't have needed to find out everything on my own. So this is simply saying, yeah, we have used XOR encryption. So everything was not necessary if I would have looked right or did the enumeration right, but okay. So Earth has confirmed they have received or sent messages, and we get the information that Teratest was used to test the encryption. So this is something very interesting. And another thing which is also pretty interesting is that Terra is obviously used at the username for that admin portal here. But we are still missing the password for that. So when we have a look at that test data file here, let's take it like this. We have a look at that test data file, which has been used as the key for that XOR. It becomes pretty obvious that I couldn't decrypt the messages with my approaches. So I don't know how many characters these are, but definitely much more than this tool is trying out. So yeah, let's take this as the key. Let's use CyberChef for that. CyberChef. So as you can see, hopefully I didn't load this right now. Yeah, okay. So this is basically the right. It was in the cache. So this is one of the messages from that page here. I think the first or the last of the existing messages. And when we have now our UTF-8 XOR key, so I'd simply say here from hex. So this is decoded from hex, and now I input the contents from this test data. Then it should. Don't know what's going on here. Then it should normally. I need to click bake here. So obviously. Oh no, probably this is not this starting up with 37. I think this is the right message probably. Let's copy this. I wasn't able to decrypt all of that messages. I was able to decrypt the second, and I was able to decrypt, I think, the first. Let's see. With that key. Yes. So I don't know why this is repeated, but as we can see here, it gives us Earth climate change bad for humans. So when we now copy this and use this here, as we know now, the name was Terra, and we try this decrypted code here, try to log in, and we are obviously within the admin command tool. And now we can see what we can do here, like check our ID. And obviously we are the Apache user, and uh, let's see in which directory we are, obviously in the root directory. So what I now would try is to simply spawn a reverse shell. So I would go to uh, reverse shell. So I have written this down somewhere, but I need to look that up all the time. So yeah, we will use that bash as a reverse shell here. I will set up a reverse listener. Listening on port 1234, and now let's try to start that reverse shell. I just change the port here and the IP address 1234. My machine has the IP 15, and now we try to run that command. And we will get a notification that remote connections are forbidden. I tried several things until something pretty easy came to my mind, something very easy if you know it. So if you have a look at this, there's obviously a filter. I cannot do or run any command which includes an IP address. So I can simply put in an IP address here. No matter which command is using it, it will always tell me that remote connections are forbidden here. So I cannot create a reverse shell, and yeah, no way. And I cannot connect to the port since the machine cannot open a port. So there's a really nice thing you can do in Linux. And what you can do is you can provide an IP address which is in dotted decimal notation, and you can encrypt that to full decimal number. So what that means, I will show you. As you can see here, this is pretty okay. what we do is we convert an IP address to a decimal number here. So if I add my IP address, which is 10, just use dots instead of comma. So it's 10.02.15. And now I convert that number to a full decimal number. It's pretty nice. You can try it out yourself. You can simply add. I have nothing running right now, but you can simply add HTTP in front of it, and you could access any IP address you want in that way, since it's retranslated into the IP address. This works pretty well. So when we use that trick here, we take our reverse shell, and we will open a socket here, which we can do automatically, or which will be opened automatically if we write something to that directory, dev TCP, and then the IP address and the port. And let's copy that. If you paste it here, and as you know, we can use decimal numbers, but we cannot use IP addresses. So I will copy that and change this IP address to the decimal representation of that IP address. And then I run the command and nothing happens. But when we have a look at our netcat listener, we can see that we now have a remote shell. So as you can see, I'm still the user Apache. And yeah, I did some enumeration, and what I did was to search for some binaries which have the suite bit set, so we can get root access. So I'm searching for the files and redirect the errors to def null. And if you run that, we find some usual suspects, but there's one thing which does not seem to be a default file, which is this one here. So the problem here is I forgot to do something beforehand. So just trust me, if you run that file, it will tell you that not all triggers are matched and you cannot reset the root password. I would run this in a normal system. You could run this. Since I've already owned this machine, I do have the triggers set, and I won't run it now since it will work. But let me show you how I went on. So what I did was I had a first look at that file using file, just to see what kind of file that is. It's obviously an executable. I checked that, and you see dynamically linked interpreter set UID executable. So this is something which has the suite bit set. So yeah, what can we do? I run strings on that to get information probably from that file, since when you just simply cat it, you don't really get good information. So God, it obviously copied all that other stuff. So when you run strings on that, Yeah, it's called strings, so I need to type that right. We see that there's this by the way searches for strings which are like human readable in a file. And if you see there are some GCC calls, something like that, and you can see here that this is the output when you haven't set the reset triggers. So if you have set the reset triggers correctly, it will obviously reset the root password to Earth. So when you have a look at this here, it's been echo root Earth, and this is piped into change password. So yeah, obviously it will change the root password if we try or if we set the triggers right. If you have a look here, I think this is a rabbit hole. I didn't get any information out of that because I think this is pretty funny because it says credentials, root, the earth is flat. So since this is not a fact and this is definitely false, I think this is a rabbit hole here, and I did get that to work in any context. So yeah, this is obviously a rabbit hole. I tried this on all accounts on that machine, but I had no success with that. So what should we do with that file now? So we know that there's something in. We need to know what the triggers are. So what I did here was I downloaded the file to my local computer. Now let's do it that way. I downloaded the file to my local computer and started to run some debugging. So you can do this simply by opening a netcat on this machine and push it to your attacker machine, so you can finally copy over the file. Yeah, and what I did was I wanted to, let's go to the folder. I can show you. Yeah. Typing's not my friend. So I have that reset root here. I can run this on this machine so you can see what is not going to happen. Reset root. So if you run that, or if I would run that on that machine and I haven't set the triggers yet, it would tell me no, reset failed. Not all triggers are ready, are present. So what I did was I ran GBD, I ran object dump, and I tried several things, but I came up with strace, and reset. Let's use the local file. Reset root. There. And if you analyze that file carefully, you will see that here's the write. So the output function, it's checking if the triggers are present, and it's trying to access these three files here. It's this one, it's this one, and it's this one. And this is one call it's doing. So it's running that, and it's telling me that no such file or directory exists. So this is the error code. But if we go back to our Earth machine and simply create those files by simply touching them, this luckily works since we can write files in that directory. So if we simply do touch, for example, touch this file, that worked well. If we touch this file here, this worked also well. And if we touch the third file, we should have all triggers to reset the root password. So let's try this out. We will call user bin reset root. So, and this obviously worked. So get the message, reset triggers are present, resetting root password to earth. And if we now go su, we type in earth. Ah, yeah, can wait for it. Obviously we are already root, so let's go to the root directory. Yeah, there's obviously no shell running. So there's the root flag. And we're done. So I think it was a really, really nice machine, and I learned a really lot of it from since the decryption or the using of strace on that file was pretty nice. So it took me a long time to get that, and what really took me a long time either was the decimal representation, since yeah, you need to remember that, and this is not the first thing that comes to your mind. But yeah, now I know again. So yeah, I did this. I hope you enjoyed that third video of the series, and if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, leave me a like, and if you have any questions, please feel free to add a comment, and see you next time.